Hey guys, here's the next installment of our Group Leader Insights, and we just kind of finished 4 parts in a row talking about our distinctives, our values, what it is that we want to define and to drive us as a community and a group of community groups all throughout the city. Now, when we begin to pursue health and we become sort of this unit as a community group, there's some expectations that we need to have coming into doing life together on a consistent basis. It takes a long time to get to a place where we become a family. We talked about that when we talked about authenticity. In addition to that, when you bring a group of sinners together to do life together on a regular basis, there's some things that you can expect. And the number one thing I think is helpful for us to understand is that it's going to be messy. There's going to be friction. When you bring sinners together in the same place, we're going to sin against each other. The scriptures are constantly full of reminders to forgive one another as God in Christ has forgiven us. That means we should assume we're going to need to, the people are going to do things to us that require forgiveness. They're going to sin against us. And it's what we're called to do. As God in Christ has forgiven us, so we forgive one another. Here are 2 positive effects of kind of understanding that, hey, we're going to sin against each other. Sin's going to be a reality. We're going to hurt each other. We're going to be hurt by one another. We're going to cause hurt in each other's lives, sometimes intentionally, sometimes unintentionally. The first one is it gives us realistic expectations rather than a romantic, sort of Hollywood version of community. Not all of us are sitting out in a farm somewhere at a big wooden table with Christmas lights hanging around us, drinking our beverages in joy and having delight in one another all the time. That's not what community feels like and looks like all the time. Sometimes it's gritty, sometimes it's messy. Even Jesus with his disciples, there were frustrating moments together where he had to kind of help them navigate as brothers how they'd sin against each other. And Romans chapter 12 says, love one another with a brotherly affection. That means that God has made us a family, and you don't always get to choose your family, and you don't always like everybody in your family. But nonetheless, we're called to love each other with a steadfast, long-term, really eternal kind of love. And that requires realistic expectations on the front end. And then secondly, it pushes us to become active participants in one another's sanctification. It pushes us to pursue one another, knowing that there's sin in our lives. If we know that we're sinners, there's sin in our lives, sometimes it may not manifest itself on the surface, so we got to go looking for it. We have to pursue one another enough to know what's really going on at the soul level, and what sins, what lies, ways that we're not believing the gospel deep in our soul. So we've got to give each other permission to do that. One thing that we do in our community group is give a license to a few people specifically, sort of a hunting license, a license to kill. Go and find sin and help me put it to death in my soul. When you see something, maybe a blind spot, something that I don't see, you have license to kill. You have license to tell me about it, bring it up in a loving way as a brother in Christ, not as an enemy, but as a friend, and help me to put to death what it is that's stealing joy from me and from our community. So that's the realistic expectations of sin and community, and really this paves the pathway to joy and maturation in the Lord. So love you very much. Thanks for leading. We'll talk to you next time.